The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, Idaho, on your new Pierce Fire aerial apparatus, job number 37100. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find on the passenger and driver side 2 open-ended tow hooks. As we move up onto the face of the front bumper, you'll find 2 closed tow hooks. Located in the center, unit identifier L13, and to the driver's side, dual air horns. As we move up onto the bumper extension, on the passenger side, you'll find a swivel front discharge, in addition with a tubbed storage location right next to that 2.5. In the center, you'll find an additional tubbed storage location with a swivel discharge inside. On the driver's side, your mechanical siren. As we move to the cab, you'll find turn indicator marker lights and headlight structure housing high and low beam headlights. The high beam will be located on the inside. Just up from that location, we have emergency warning lights. Out to the passenger side, you'll find your fire bell. And then as we move toward the outer edge of the cab, you'll find grab handles for gaining access to the windshield. There are 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. And as we move to the A-pillar is where you'll find your mirror, housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find identification clearance lights. Just above that, up onto the roof area, you'll find a light bar, forward-facing flood spot. As we move all the way up onto the very top of the apparatus, you'll find 2 emergency warning light bars at a slight angle on the passenger and driver side. Located on the driver's side, you'll find your opticom. Let's take a look at some close-ups of those items we just talked about. First, starting with the front bumper extension on the side-facing emergency warning light, and a 2.5-inch discharge. This is a foam-capable front discharge. As we move toward the center of the apparatus, you'll find an additional tubbed storage location with dry deck material inside. This is your front bumper pre-connect. As we look inside the area, you'll find on the back wall a swivel discharge with dry deck material. 9,000-pound direct pull for your allowable winch ratings. As we move now to a full view of the apparatus, we'll start first now with the cab section, starting at the axle where you'll find Alcoa wheels, a visual sight gauge indicator in the front axle. Also moving toward the front bumper extension, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Easily accessible with a gloved hand, these are your door lock and latch combination. They are keyed locks. Right next to that, you'll find a grab handle for gaining entry and exit out of the cab. And then as we move to the very rear cab wall, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up toward the very top, you'll find a side-facing scene light, and then over the doorway, you'll find an additional emergency warning light. Let's take a look at the pump panel. We'll cover that in just a few moments. Let's start now with the body of the apparatus. We'll start first at the very bottom section with 2 folding wheel chocks just in front of the rear axle. And then also in front of the rear axle, you'll find your forward stabilizer. As we move to the rear, you'll find your stabilizer pad. Moving to the very middle, just in front of the apparatus rear axle is where you'll find a marker turn indicator light. You also have additional side-facing scene lights, and then also emergency warning lights. As we move directly over the stabilizer, you'll find a camera. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rear of the apparatus. Then we'll move around to the passenger side, full view, and then we'll focus in on the cab section. Same configuration and layout that you have on the driver's side as you do on the passenger side. Same configuration on the body side. All compartments open on the driver's side. Then we'll take a look at the passenger side. We'll go ahead and go inside the cab into the driver's space. First, let's start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. Just above that, you'll find a door lock and latch combination, manual window controls, and a grab handle. Let's move just down from this location to the stepwell area, where you have a lighted stepwell in addition to a recessed air inlet. As we move to the base of the seat area, you'll find your shoreline power. Moving just inside of that shoreline power, 20 amps, you'll find this yellow placard indicating manufactured for your organization from Pierce Manufacturing, indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. VIN number, all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity type. As we move now to the floorboard, you'll find an air horn and a mechanical siren foot pedal. Moving to about the left knee of the operator, you'll find the quarter-turn master battery switch. Right next to it for your service department, you'll find the engine, transmission, ABS, J1939 diagnostic port. Below that, you'll find some switches and indicators. First, ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and also regen inhibit. Just up from that, you'll find a digital pump pressure, water, and foam level indicators. As we move to the opposite side of the steering column, you'll find a air horn shutoff valve. And as we move up from that location, you'll find an indicator stationary OK to pump, water pump, foam pump, stabilizer camera, stabilizer indicator not stowed, and aerial tip lights. Let's move just up from this location where you'll find the flat mirror and convex mirror controls. As we move to the dash, let's start on the left-hand side with the start and ignition switch. Just inside that location, a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage or disengage all emergency lights with one switch. Headlight switch and a panel switch allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator dash. And on the opposite side of the steering column, you'll find the OK to engage the high idle indicator and switch. As we move to the cluster on the left, you'll find your transmission, oil, def level, and water temp. On the right-hand side, you'll find front air, rear air, volts, and fuel. Directly in the center, you'll find a tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information will display above and below the speedometer in addition to the diagnostic information center located in the center. Let's take a quick look to the right, and then we'll start identifying things within this area. First, let's start with your display screen. This is for your camera systems. As we move down, we had a set of switches. We'll start first with the aerial master switch, aerial PTO, indicator for aerial PTO engaged, off-road traction, a protected tire chain switch, and also front wheel lock. Just down from that, you'll find an engine brake on and off switch, settings for low, medium, and high for that engine, a diff lock switch, diff lock activated indicator, perimeter lights, and mirror heat. As we move downward from this location, you'll find the yellow pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. This controls the rear brakes. To the right, Allison transmission pad, touch digital screen, readout. Further to the right, you'll find your windshield wiper, fluid, push, and rotate left-right for on and off for the wiper blades. Heat, air conditioning, and climate control in the forward position. As we move to the right, you'll find USB and barrel style 12-volt access. Moving further to the right, you'll find air horn and mechanical siren. As we move toward the center, you'll find an additional storage compartment. General view here of the rear seats, you have two forward-facing seats which house SCBA brackets. Overhead of the driver's space, let's start first with the yellow placard over the driver's head. Height of the vehicle, 11 feet, 11 inches. Length, 39 feet, 5 inches. Gross vehicle weight rating, 56,500 pounds. Let's move further to the right where we'll find some emergency warning switches. First, let's start with the emergency master switch. Roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been activated, the switch in itself will illuminate, indicating that it is on. Moving further to the right, you'll find your Opticom switch directly over the cab driver, high beam flash, rear amber warning, white warning master, a load manager, and a siren brake for your mechanical siren. Moving further to the right, you'll find the scene lights for front scene, driver side cab scene, driver side body scene, passenger side cab scene, passenger side body scene, and rear scene. Moving further to the right, this is your traffic advisor control module. And then as we look toward the center of the apparatus between the two seats, you'll find your HOS system, avoidance control system for collisions. You'll also find seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green they're in the seat and belted. You'll also find if illuminating or flashing, do not move your apparatus when this light is on. It's indicating you have a compartment or door open. Directly behind the driver's seat is where you'll find your continuous power unit. Moving now to the exterior, we have 2 adjustable shelves and LED lighting. Moving down to the front axle, Goodyear tire, Alcoa wheel, and also that visual sight gauge indicator. Let's move to the rear cab area, but first let's start with the door panel, and affixed to that door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, manual window control, and a grab handle. As we move inside the vehicle, you'll find 2 EMS compartments. Directly above, you'll find 2 smaller compartments at the roof level. Inside those compartments, they do have LED lighting. The roll-up compartment door exposes 2 shelves inside, in addition with LED lighting, and also when plugged into Shoreline Power or inverter active, this plug will be powered. Now moving right next to the rear cab wall, you'll find an additional compartment adjustable shelf with netting and a compartment light inside. Let's move in between the 2 seats, where you'll find on the rear cab wall an additional 12-volt access via USB style. As we move to the forward section, you'll find the rear portion of the engine lift and turn latch gains you access into the location where you'll do your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's go ahead and move outside to the pump panel area. Let's start first with this general view of the pump panel and crosslays. And we'll start with the pump panel notch, first starting with 2 2.5-inch discharges locally controlled via ball valve. As we move to the right of this location, you'll find a warning placard indicating pressure hazard warning. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening. In the center, you'll find the Pierce American Flag Eagle. This is your large diameter inlet. And then to the right, you'll find a warning placard. When climbing on and off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move to the right, you'll find your foam draft lever and also your foam intake. To the right, you'll find an additional warning placard regarding foam. Do not mix different brands or consistencies for the possibility of foam failure. Down at the very bottom, you'll find a 2.5-inch female locally controlled auxiliary inlet. And at the very bottom, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. We'll take a few close-ups here. First, driver's side number 1 and driver's side number 3, 2.5-inch discharges. As we move to the right, you'll find the draft foam tank lever. As we move down to the very bottom, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go ahead and go back to the pump panel general view, and we'll start at the very top where the arrow is indicating if properly engaged from the cab. This light indicating pump engage will be illuminating. To the left, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule for your vehicle. We'll go over that in just a moment. Below that, a warning. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after proper training. To the right in the gray module, you'll find your master intake gauge and also the master discharge gauge. In between the 2 of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure, and they are currently plugged, and these are utilized for testing purposes. As we move to the right, you'll find an indicator for PCM fault, amber in color. Just down from that, you'll find an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate, allowing you to dampen or brighten the sound. And then also an indicator pump overheating, which is an additional amber indicator. Let's move back to that minimum operation maintenance schedule for test pressures of 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left, you'll find the associated GPM at test pressure, and on the right-hand side, you'll find the associated RPMs at test pressure. We do have a governed speed while in pump mode of 2,100 RPMs. 5-digit job number also located on this placard. Let's move down from this location, talk about some of the things on the pump panel area. First, starting with our discharges. They are clearly identified and also color-coded, and also indicate whether they're foam capable. To the right is your Husky foam system module. There are instructions for its operation on the placard. In addition, with a foam level tank A indicator. As we move to the right, you'll find the pressure throttle governor. And then as we move down, you'll find also a foam manifold gauge. Let's move down from this location. We'll identify a few more items. First, starting with the tank fill and recirculating line. Right next to it is the tank to pump and also the 2.5-inch crosslay. As we move further to the right, your vehicle is equipped with the Husky 3 foam system. These are the system specifications and also operating instructions. As we move to the right, we have a push to prime air prime for minimum best practices, at least 1,000 RPMs when activation. As we move to the right, you'll find the aerial discharge. It is a wheel valve with an indicator of open and close in the center of the wheel. There are 2 electronic valves located on the passenger side. This is the electronic valves down in the lower section. We do have a danger placard indicating here, because the vehicle is non-insulated, specifically the ladder, for electrocution hazard. All of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains are located at the very bottom section. On the vertical wall, you'll find additional switching for lighting. As we move to the very bottom section of the pump panel, you'll find your foam level. There are instructions for its operation. It matches the yellow handle just inside the compartment area. As we move downward from there, this is the manual pump shift. It's a protected switch. There's a tag on the top and also an identifier light that indicates that you're on. Let's move from this location. This is the pull-out and fold-out step for aerial operations. And then as we move now to the rest of the compartments, let's start identifying things within this area. First, you'll find an adjustable shelf and then also a toolbox located in the lower portion. To the right of that location, you'll find a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is located on the right. As we move to the center compartment, we'll identify a few items within this area. First, let's start at the very top section with a tool board. D-handle gains you access into the space. It will lock into the open position. Hinge is located for the release on the hinge side. Also some warning placards here regarding crush injury because of the movement of the stabilizer. And then also, once again, danger, electrocution hazard, equipment is not insulated. As we move forward, you have an 8-gallon DEF tank. It is the blue cap. Then we'll go ahead and move down to the single axle Goodyear tire Alcoa wheel. As we move up from this location, 2 SCBA bottle storage locations with straps, in addition with the silver ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. It's the silver cap. As you move toward the rear, you'll find adjustable shelving at the very bottom section, a pull-out tray, and then also your stabilizer pad. In this compartment, you'll also find an outlet. When plugged into Shoreline power, this outlet will become active. And we'll go ahead and move around to the rear of the apparatus. All compartment doors are open. Let's start identify a few items in the upper compartment where you find an emergency warning light. This is top side. And then you'll also find a adjustable rear scene light. As we move down, we do have an additional hose chute located here. This is on the left side of the body. Also, because of that hose chute, we have a warning placard indicating entanglement hazard. Because the line's coming from that location, there's the possibility of entanglement. And as we move to the left, you'll find an additional emergency warning light. Let's move down from this location where you'll find your ladder storage location, hose bed lights, and also rear scene lights in the cupped switches on the lower left-hand side. Also, you'll find a warning placard in this pan door area. This is for your stabilizer. Inside the compartment, you'll find a diagnostic USB for your maintenance team. You'll also find an override, which is a protected switch, and also emergency hydraulic power switch. To the far right, you're going to find your level assist switch for leveling the device. And then as we move down, you'll find your driver's side stabilizer control, both green indicators inward and also and outward, and up and down. The next one down is controlling the single rear stabilizer control at the rear of the apparatus. Let's move back up to the very top section in the center where you'll find your backup camera. Just beneath this area, you're going to find your traffic advisor. And then as we look just to the far right at the very top section, you'll find an additional warning regarding entanglement hazard, and that's because of the lines coming from aloft in the hose chute area. As we move down just to the center roll-up compartment door, you'll find additional storage with an adjustable shelf and LED lighting. As we move down just beneath this area, you'll find all of our overrides. As we move to the left, you'll find the blue and green indicators. They match the information on the bottom of the door area. Also, as we move to the right, you'll find the gray, which is the aerial device overrides. I would also like to point out we do have some danger information here because of the hydraulics in this area. And then warning placard regarding tip over hazard. Just a quick look of a visual picture here of what we were just talking about. We'll move down to the very bottom section, just under this area where you'll find on the left the Pierce American Flag Eagle. This is your aerial inlet. Moving now just to the right, you'll find the aerial inlet gauge. And then moving down to the bottom, you'll find a pressure hazard because caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also to the right, we have a warning regarding crush hazard. There is a stabilizer that operates just underneath the very bottom rear section. As we move to the right, you'll find the inclinometer left to right for your vehicle, and then also inside the pan door is your aerial drain. We'll go ahead and take a look inside the aerial drain area. You can see the ball valve located here. As we move now just to the right of this location, you'll find ground ladder storage. And then also you'll find your passenger side stabilizer control and also rear stabilizer control. Also a danger placard indicating electrocution hazard. Full view of the apparatus with all compartments open on the passenger side. We'll start now at the very rear of the apparatus, starting with 2 adjustable shelves, a pull-out tray, and then a floor-mounted pull-out tray. In this compartment, you also have shoreline outlet. Once again, when plugged into shoreline power, this becomes active. The release mechanisms for these shelves are located on the right-hand side of the shelf. We'll move now directly over the rear axle where you'll find an adjustable shelf. And then also we'll find SCBA bottle storage. This is just to the rear of the axle, 2 bottles with retaining straps. As we move forward of the axle, you'll find additional SCBA storage, 2 bottles, retaining straps. As we move down, we do have some warning here on the stabilizer regarding crush injury because of its movement, and then also danger regarding electrocution hazard. It's again, the equipment is not insulated. You will find extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operations. Be cautious where you choose to park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. Let's move back down to the tire where you'll find Goodyear tire, Alcoa wheel. And then we'll move back up toward the top section here where we'll find 2 more compartments. We have adjustable shelves in the first compartment and a pull-out tray. In this compartment, you'll also find a shoreline outlet. As we move to the bottom, release mechanism for this is located on the right-hand side. Let's move to the next forward compartment where you'll find 3 adjustable shelves. You'll also find crosslays here and additional storage. As we move now to the pump panel area on the passenger side, you'll find a warning. When climbing onto the vehicle or off, always face the vehicle. Pierce logo, American Flag Eagle, large diameter pump inlet on the passenger side. We do have your cab lift function control module located here, also a pressure warning hazard. As we move to the right, there are 2 electric valves that were controlled from the pump panel area. These are those 2 valves, the 2.5 inch, which does have an override. And then also as we move down, you'll find the auxiliary 2.5 inch locally controlled ball valve female inlet. And then to the right, your large diameter discharge, once again an electric valve, and therefore there is an override. At the very bottom, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's move from this position back to the actual cab lift, where we have some instructions for raise and lower. Please make sure all items are secure within the cab. Some close-ups of the items we just talked about. Let's move just up from this location and into the cab area of the rear portion of the cab. Affix the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, and also manual window controls and the grab handle. As we move inside to the compartments, we have two rear-facing SCBA roll-up compartment doors. Inside those compartments, you'll find adjustable shelving. Also, as we move on the rear wall, you'll find two EMS outer compartments with netting, in addition, compartment lighting and also adjustable shelves. As we move just above those EMS compartments, you'll find additional compartments. These compartments do house LED lighting also inside. As we move just down from this location to the rear section, you'll find adjustable shelves, LED lighting, and inside these compartments, you'll also find, when plugged into Shoreline power, the Shoreline inverter outlets will be active. As we move to the exterior, you'll find a informational placard here regarding your supplemental restraint system locations for your airbags. Also, Goodyear tire, Alcoa wheel, and a visual sight gauge indicator. Let's move now into the officer space front passenger seat. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. Your vehicle also is equipped with a supplemental restraint system. The front bolster is located in this black section here, and there's also a warning placard information regarding mounting of any equipment within the vicinity of this area. As we move to the right, you'll find the fire bell rope, and then just below that, you'll find on the A-pillar also location for the fill for your windshield wiper fluid. Moving just up from this location on the A-pillar, you'll also find an additional box light. Let's move just to the left of the officer seat, where you'll find a siren brake for your mechanical siren. And then as we look overhead of the officer position, you'll find push on and off red or white lens lights. You'll also find just underneath the switch panels your Firecom wireless base system. And we'll move just upward from this location, where you'll find this red and white spare wiring behind panel informational placard. It does have the type of wire that's there and also option number. As we move now to some scene lights, we have front scene, driver's side, passenger side, cab, and also body scene lights. Each of those switch individually activates. When they're on, the light will illuminate within that space, indicating that the light is active. As we move just to the left of this location, we're going to find our Firecom base unit for headsets. And then as we move to the left, you'll find your inverter control module. Moving now to the pedestal area, we'll start with some warning and placard information just on the base of the pedestal. You do have a 4-section 107-foot aerial. As we move back to the pedestal area, just a quick lay of the land here, and we'll start first with your intercom system, starting at the very front with a push-to-talk and also volume control. Let's move to the control module now, starting on the left with a push emergency stop button. As we move to the right, you'll find your ladder illumination, tip lights, tracking lights, aerial speed, whether you're in normal or fast. As we move back up to the top, you'll find an air horn, remote aerial control activation, and also emergency hydraulic power. To the right is your command zone, a tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. Not only is it a function button screen, it is also a touch screen. Let's move down to the controls themselves, where you'll find on the left all of our nozzle controls for deploy and stow, stream, fog, or straight, lower raise, right and left, and ladder control for extend, retract, right, left, and lower raise. As we move to the left of the cover, you'll find some warning and danger placard information. As we move to the top section of the cover, when open, you'll be able to see the Ascendant 107 waterway dry placard indicating a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition and the aerial chart. Just underneath that, a waterway charged with a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition, and below that is the chart. Also, the monitor nozzle position while flowing water. And as we look down to the very bottom, there are additional asterisk information. For example, icy conditions would be listed here. As we move to the left, this is the 1911 testing chart for your Ascendant 107. Let's move back to the lower portion where you'll find your aerial manual control, and also a warning here, tip hazard when using manual controls. As we move to the base of the aerial, you'll find an additional step. In that step area, you'll find additional storage. Let's move back to the aerial device itself. Once again, this is a 4-section aerial. As we move to the right-hand side of the aerial on the base fly, you'll find a 10-foot roof ladder. As we move to the left-hand side of the fly, you'll find an additional rubbish hook. Let's move toward the tip of the aerial device. We'll identify a few items within this area. You do have local control, starting first with extend, retract, right, left, and lower and raise. With that control, there are some warning informations regarding the operator and also warning regarding tip over hazard. As we move downward, you'll find the ability to either have the nozzle at the full tip extension or down lower on the fly device itself. This is the device mechanism that allows that to happen. See the manual for more information. We also have a crush injury because you now have control of the aerial device. And also to the right, you'll find your nozzle control. There is a speaker located here for your intercom system, has volume control and also a push to talk. We do have fall restraint required while operating on the aerial device, and then also danger. The ladder itself is non-insulated. Let's take a look through at the nozzle position here. At the very front section, you'll find your nozzle. As we move down, you'll find an additional valve open and close, and you'll find a discharge on the left-hand side along with a relief valve. You'll also find tip lights. There are 4 located, 2 on each side. Chainsaw scabbard on both the passenger and driver side. And then as we previously discussed, you have the ability to either keep the nozzle at the full tip position or reduce that position. This is the handle that allows you to operate that. Once again, please see the owner's manual for its operation. With the aerial device out of its bed, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the dunnage area. And we'll look just forward of this location to your top fill water tank. And then as we move to the right, you'll find top fill foam location with a warning placard here indicating do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. This is your Husky 3 reservoir. There is a fill location and check location for the foam hydraulic oil reservoir. As we move to the forward section, you'll find some indications here regarding warning. This is a non-walking surface and it may be slippery. As we move back to the dunnage area, the next set of images are going to be that with the aerial device up, also the cab fully tilted, in addition with chassis photos. As we move through the chassis photos, just as a reminder, when raising your cab, make sure all items are secured. When the cab is fully lifted, store the safety bar. When the safety bar is in place, do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Let the hydraulic pressure in each ram hold the cab open. As we move to the battery box, this is going to be on the driver's side. The very bottom section, just underneath the battery box, is where you'll find your positive and negative termination points. And we have a short video for you with your emergency lights on. Congratulations, Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, Idaho, on your new Pierce Fire aerial apparatus, job number 37100. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.